This is video number 2. I made a video where I saw the bride of Christ, and then out of that vision came another vision about the weeds among the wheat. And now I got another vision that I want to share that I had today. Now that other one I had a while ago. If you like these videos, like and share. I would never make something like this up. I believe Jesus is the Lord. I would never make up a story unless I really did see this vision. One reason I see a lot of visions is because I'm a disciple according to Luke 14:33, which means at one point in my life, being the rich young ruler myself, having walked away from everything I have and literally didn't even have a toothbrush. And God has had me do it to varying degrees many times over the last 30 years, probably at least 5 times. One time I had to walk away from everything, like everything. When I first got saved, I had to stop stealing and give back everything that I could return. I had to kind of get rid of most of the stuff I owned right when I first came to know the Lord. So that's 2 different times. Another time was when I travel somewhere. I have to uproot where I'm living and move to another city. I always get rid of a bunch of stuff during that time. And I've done that 4 or 5 times. So what I'm saying is I've been obedient to God and I've lived a life for the Lord, so I see a lot of visions. So in the vision, here's what I saw. I saw the hand of God, like the almighty hand of God. And he always is wearing a garment of clouds and sunlight and rainbows. I mean, he always looks like a natural. He looks like the sunset in one vision, kind of like bright colors and light coming off of him and clouds. And other times you're closer, you see something different. But in this vision, I saw it was the left hand of God. And on the hand, I noticed a big ring. You know those big rings that are big? And on that ring, it had a big old gemstone that was like, I saw the hand was huge. The hand was like the size of half the universe. Or the solar system. Whatever. The hand was like, it was like the size of a constellation. But yet I was seeing it as a regular hand. And then, in the vision, I also saw on this big ring that was on his ring finger, okay, there was you know how some stones are faceted, which means they're cut like this, and some stones are smooth? It was a big smooth stone that was like polished. And I could see inside of it, I could see a bunch of detail inside this stone. And suddenly I zoomed in on, so first I'm seeing this hand, and I know it's a big hand. Then I'm seeing this ring on the hand. And then I notice the stone that's on there and that it's smooth. And then all of a sudden I zoomed into that stone, and inside that stone was a whole world. A whole world. Okay? Inside the stone on God's hand. And I saw something in there brightly lit. Now all of a sudden this ring that's on God's finger is now suddenly the size of a football field, as far as my perspective. And I'm looking, and then I get another closer look of something in there flying around, moving. And I go, boom, I zoom in even farther, and all of a sudden I'm in this room that looks like a stadium dome. It's like a dome, like when you go to the football game, and they got a stadium dome. It's like that size with a big dome over it, and that dome is the stone that I just saw in God's hand. And the little thing I saw that was brightly lit and shining was the bride of Christ. And again, she looked, in this vision, she looked kind of like Tinkerbell. I couldn't even see her. She was in a blazing ball of light, but I could see her flying around, and little sparkles and little pixie dust was kind of, so to speak, pixie dust was coming off of her as she flew around. And she had this big, giant stadium to fly around in. But it wasn't actually a stadium. It was similar to. So imagine being about the size of your thumb and being able to fly like a little insect, like a little hummingbird. And your house, now the Lord was telling me this is the bride of Christ. This is her house. This is where she lives. And the house, just the house, is the size of a baseball stadium with a giant dome over it. And then I saw a bunch of, but it didn't look like a baseball stadium inside. Inside, I saw staircases, and I saw like what looked like a little slide where you could go to the top and then slide down. I saw water coming down like rivers, and places to, like, little swimming holes and places to jump in. And I saw a whole estate of the bride. And she was the size of your thumb. And she looked like Tinkerbell and flew around like Tinkerbell. She flew around kind of like a wasp, or like one of those little insects that can hover and go backward, and like a hummingbird. And I saw a big garden. She could fly around in the garden, and she would collect pollen. And there was all sorts of stuff to do in this big giant garden, which was her estate, which was inside a bubble that was appeared to be a stone on the left hand of God's ring and his wedding band. Okay, so that's a complicated vision, to say the least. And that's what heaven's going to be like. And there's little other, and if you, anything you ask, if you give him anything he asks in this age, he'll give you. If you lay down everything for him, he'll bless you 100-fold in this age and the age to come. But it's not in this world and the age to come. That's where they err. That's where the whore on the beast errs. That's where the foolish virgins step into error. They think it's the money and riches of the world. They misunderstand Matthew chapter 19, verse 20, 21, 22. What Jesus was really saying is, with man, it's impossible to give everything you have. You need God to help you to do it. You need to pray it through. And as you go, you lay down certain things. I'm talking about the rich young ruler. I'm talking about Luke 14:33. Anyway, so in the vision, I basically saw the mansion of the bride. And if she prays and calls out to God and says, here's what I want, Lord. I want my estate, my mansion in heaven to be inside the stone on the ring of your finger. In the name of Jesus, that's what I ask. And I pray inside that stone there's a huge expanse of forest and of meadows and fields and rainy, windy places and sunny, warm places. And there's rivers everywhere and fresh pools of water and plenty of little things to eat and drink and little insects and other critters to chase around the garden. And, pollen and fruit trees and strawberries and cherries. Well, that was in the vision also. He fed me a taste of lemon. In this particular, we went to a place where there was a bunch of gold and bright yellow. And the yellow was the yellow not of gold, but the yellow of lemon, which is a different color, basically a different flavor of yellow or gold. In other words, gold mixed with a different alloy to make it more yellow or whatever. If you know anything about 14 karat gold, it's something like 2/3 24 karat gold and 1/3 chromium or something. Anyway, well, there's this lemon colored substance in heaven that's not gold, and you can eat it. It's really good. Anyway, I think we went to his lemon tree or something like that. And I flew around like a little bug. And there's these giant flowers. I'm just saying, heaven's going to be awesome. It's colorful too. That's the other thing I saw so many tons of brightly lit colors and rainbows, and the light would come in the distance. There's like a rainbow and maybe a sunset on one side and a sunrise on the other that you can see at the same time just by looking. I mean, it's crazy. Heaven is a different place altogether.